Ladies and gentlemen, before we get started, this podcast is brought to you by Final Form Supplements. Final Form Supplements is a supplement brand with honesty labeling. So the labeling in supplements is Wild Wild West. Sometimes labels aren't honest. They have things in there that's on in there. We don't have to worry about that with Final Form Supplements. We got everything you need from protein powder, creatine, skin care, soap for your skin, handcrafted soap, and we have all kinds of things. Go to finalformsubs.com, that's SUPPS, finalformsubs.com. Use promo code COACHSTRIB, all caps, no space. Get 10% off your order. And make sure you like, comment, subscribe on whichever video you're watching here at Ivy Talks Podcast Network. And enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the WNBA coverage. Before we get started, make sure you guys subscribe here at Ivy Talks Podcast Network so you guys stay updated on all the podcasts we have going on as well as the WNBA coverage. Also, excuse the shirt, just got back from the gym, hang clean day, so I'm chalked up, but I came in right from the gym to do the pod today. And we have a lot of stuff going on in the WNBA, and we actually have a handful of shout outs I want to give on just the play and the games we've had this past week. Kind of a lot has gone on and a lot of great performances. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to shout out everybody, but just some of the highlights that I remembered as the games are going. I'm taking notes on who I want to shout out, just having good games, etc., etc. But like we always do, we're going to start with the standings here. I have my notes ready for today. All right, start the standings. We're going to start with the East. New York Liberty and the Connecticut Suns are tied at the number one spot, the same record, 17-4 for both. Connecticut Suns is finding ways to win. Liberty had a loss, I forget who to. They had a loss this past week that kind of got them tied up with the Connecticut Suns, so it is a battle right there for first and second. Indiana Fever is actually moved up to third. They've gone on a little bit of a win streak. I have Caitlin Clark, obviously, is going to be someone I shout out later just for her performances, breaking rookie records, and as well as potential WNBA records. But Fever are sitting there now. Fever, they are 8 games behind, so the 1 and 2 spot for the East are tight. It is tied 17-4, 17-4 between Liberty, Suns. Fever at third are 9-13, so they are, like I said, 8 games behind. But from third to fifth, it's a tight race, only a 2-game difference. Chicago Sky's right behind Indiana Fever. They've been going back and forth between them two, one being up over the other. They've been going back and forth. Chicago Sky is 1 game behind at 8-12. Atlanta Dream, who was at the third spot that they have dropped down to the 5th spot, they're sitting there at 7-13, and the Washington Mystics sitting there at 5-17. In the West, we kind of have a tight race between 1 and 4, really 1 and 3, but 1 and 4 potentially could be in there if the Mercury can go on a run. But sitting at number 1, Minnesota Lynx, been pretty consistent this season. Seattle Storm at 2, Las Vegas Aces at 3, Phoenix Mercury at 4, LA Sparks at 5, Dallas Wings at 6. Between the Lynx and the Seattle Storm, it is a 1-game difference. Seattle had a loss this past week that if they had won that, they would have been tied, just like we have in the East. They would have been tied for the 1 and 2 spot, but they did take a loss this week, which set them 1 game behind. And the Las Vegas Aces are 2 games behind the Lynx at the number 1 spot, and they're only 1 game behind the 2nd spot, the Seattle Storm. So 1 through 3 is really tight, really a 1 to 2 game difference there. Now, the Phoenix Mercury, they are 11-10. They're 4 games behind 1, 3 games behind 2, and 2 games behind the 3rd spot. So the Mercury is still competing there for that number 1 spot as we move on. LA Sparks and Dallas Wings are both tied for that last spot at 5. Well, really, LA Sparks are 5-16. The Wings are 5-17. Wings have played 1 more game. Therefore, they have 1 more loss in the loss column than the Sparks. You know, they have the same win amount, but that puts them below the Sparks because of that 1 extra loss. But they're both sitting there at 5 wins at the bottom. Now, going on to leaders, we have Aja Wilson. No surprise there. It's going to probably be very consistent there at the top of our points per game at 27. Rebounds per game, we had talked about how close rebounds per game was between Angel Reese and Aja Wilson. Well, Angel Reese has had some phenomenal games this past week, puts her at the number 1 spot at 11.8. Aja Wilson at 10.9. Hamby sitting there close at 10.4. Alyssa Thomas, assists per game, 7.9. Caitlin Clark, 7.4. Natasha Cloud, 7.3. So we still have a pretty tight race there for the assists per game. Steals per game, Ogunbowale, at 2.8, and Naficia Collier at 2.2, Brianna Stewart 2.1, Aja Wilson 1.8. So kind of a tight race there. It's all within 1 steal per game. And then blocks per game, Aja Wilson at 2.6. Also tied with Mag Bagor. I'm sorry, I'm butchering her name. Mag Bagor. They're both tied at 2.6 for blocks per game. Now, moving on, we're going to talk about some things I'm seeing in the East and the West. Starting with the East, Atlanta Dream, like I said, dropped from 3rd place to 5th place, kind of losing some games there. But Fever and Sky are really fighting for that 3rd spot there in the East. In the West, Aces closed the gap between the Lynx and the Storm, as I had talked about earlier. And the LA Sparks, the Dallas Wings, they're really struggling with injuries, like especially notably, who I thought was going to be a contention for Rookie of the Year is Cameron Brink. She goes down with the knee injury, but Hamby has really stepped up. She came off the bench with Brink hurt. She has been inserted into that starting role, and she is playing absolutely phenomenal. I'm becoming a huge fan of Hamby, one of my favorite players in the WNBA right now. So getting into the shout-outs, we got a handful of shout-outs, so stay with me. Shout out Kelsey Plum and their win. For the Aces, she had 36 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists with 6 3-points made. She has really stepped up her 3-point game. She's had multiple games of 5 or more 3-points made, and she's now averaging, I believe, 4 3-points made per game on average. Another shout out, Las Vegas Aces. Aja Wilson becomes the Aces' all-time leading scorer for their franchise. So shout out to Aja Wilson, who is the front runner for MVP and potentially could go on a three-peat with the Las Vegas Aces, having that they've won back-to-back these past 2 years. They're looking good. They're starting to play their best ball. And it all comes down to the timing of playing your best ball. Playing your best ball early in the season doesn't really matter if you fall apart later in the season. It's all about playing your best ball at the right time, and they're slowly starting to get to the point where they're playing their best ball right as they get into the playoffs, even though we still have a little bit to go because the Olympics is going to be inserted in the middle of the WNBA season. So they will have the Olympic break, but we'll be keeping an eye on them as they move forward. Angel Reese, 13 consecutive double-doubles, which I misspoke last week. She broke the rookie record for most double-doubles. So she surpasses Candace Parker's record for most consecutive double-doubles at 12. She now at 13 for most double-doubles, and that's NBA history. That's not just rookies. She has set the WNBA record for most consecutive double-doubles at 13. She's also leading the WNBA in rebounds. Shout out Dewana Bonner. Phenomenal game she had against the win that they had against the Atlanta Dream. She had 23 points. She shot career high 7 from 9 from 3-point line. Had a phenomenal game. She's really quick. She's tall. I believe she's 6'4". She has linky arms. She kind of reminds me of like a Kevin Durant type of play style. She can kill you on all 3 levels, and she really uses her length not only on offense but as well on defense. Natasha Cloud, career high 31 points in their win over the Phoenix Mercury. Natasha Cloud, we talked about, she's a great assist. She's moved up the assist. Ladder, and she's also able to score the bucket when she needs to. Caitlin Clark, first triple-double by a rookie in WNBA history. Not only that, but she also leads the W in assists per game. So it's the way, the WNBA is marketing, which I think is great, is that you have the 2 rookie stars of the WNBA. One, Angel Reese is leading the league in rebounds. The other, Caitlin Clark, is leading the league in assists. And they're both setting rookie records left and right. So it's really good to see how that rivalry can be built up and really be good for the sport. Also, in her win against the triple-double, she had 19 points, 13 rebounds, 12 assists in her win over New York Liberty. That's who it was. The Fever beat New York Liberty, and that was the loss that New York Liberty had to get to get their rankings tied up for one with the Connecticut Suns. Hamby, they had a win over Las Vegas Aces with the LA Sparks. She had 28 points, 16 rebounds, played phenomenal defense. She really challenged Aja Wilson on the defensive end, and she was just playing really hard, really gritty ball, rebounding, second chance buckets, getting open and isolation ball, getting to the cup. So she's playing absolutely phenomenal. She's been inserted into that starting lineup. Last but not least, y'all hear me talk about her all the time. She's one of my favorite players. Kennedy Carter had 13 points and 3 steals in their win over Seattle Storm. So Kennedy Carter, like I've said, her quickness, her ability to stop on a dime. She has a beautiful drive, step back, either behind the leg she likes to do, or she'll hit you with a step back crossover to create that space. And she has that nice, really beautiful elbow short wing shot, mid-range that is just really working for her, as we can see with 33 points. So I'm excited as we get ready for this week of the WNBA and watching all the games and see players ball out. And that's going to be all for this episode of the WNBA coverage. We'll catch you guys next week.